In this lesson, we'll learn how to create blend shapes to make a ruler type of object. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit onto my screen so I can really get in close there. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my pen tool and just draw a really small line here at the bottom with that. And I held shift just to make that a perfectly straight line. Now I'm going to zoom out a bit and make this just about as tall as these apps that you see here. So I'm going to come up here, grab that selection tool, and I'm just going to hold down Alt and then click it and then hold shift and drag this line up to the top of those same apps. And I'm just kind of using this as a measurement stick. It doesn't have to be that same exact height. And now what I want to show you is how to create a blend shape from these two pieces. So we'll go ahead and come in here and choose your blend tool. So that's going to be this tool that you see right there, or you can hit the W key to switch to that tooltip and then just click. So you're going to want to hover. It's a little bit difficult to see if you're clicking it or not, but you see that little X appears. So once the X appears, you know you've clicked it. Then come down and click the second one, and that's going to give you that little plus sign shape. And now those have created a blend shape. Now right now the options aren't really exactly what we want them to be. So you're going to want to go ahead and select that. Then go up to Object, go to Blend, Blend Options. And that's going to pop up our little blend options box for us. Now right now the spacing of that blend is set to smooth color. So I want to change it to specified steps. So it's going to default me to this kind of strange number here. So I'm just going to come down and make this something more manageable, like a number 9, we'll say. Then I'll go ahead and say OK to that. And you can see that that took away all those extra pieces, and now I'm just left with 9 specified steps in between my original. Now it's important to understand that for the next part of what we're going to do. So let me just repeat that again. We have these pieces right here, which are our steps. So it's really just kind of creating those for us. They don't actually exist. If I make a selection, you see the only pieces that actually get highlighted are the two on the ends, while the ones in the middle just kind of remain seen but not selected as far as the highlight goes. So that's kind of how a blend shape works. You're not really creating those as far as a path that you could select. You see, I can't click on any of those individually. I can only click on the ones on the end. So what that is saying is that this is a step whenever I choose that specified steps option. So all of these are my steps, and I chose that I wanted to have 9 steps, but overall I actually have 11 pieces here. So there's 11 pieces and 9 specified steps. So what I want to do now is create some smaller little ticks in between all of these to make it kind of look like I have some kind of a ruler shape. So what I'm going to do is just use the existing blend shape that I have and then change those blend options again. So just go ahead and select that, hold down the Alt key until you get that white arrowhead, and then click, then hold shift and drag over here to the side, and now we have a duplicated version of that. And now I'll go ahead and select this, go up to Object, choose Blend and Blend Options. And now here comes kind of the tricky part. So we need to figure out how many specified steps we need to input here as the value so that these will perfectly overlap each other and look as if it really is a ruler. So I would like there to be 5 little tick marks in between each one of those spaces. So that's going to be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50 specified steps. But I can't forget the steps in between. So that is going to be 9. So I actually need 59 specified steps besides the ones that I want in the gap. So I'm going to put 59 as my number there. and then I'll go ahead and say OK. Now there's actually going to be 61 lines here because 59 plus the 2 on the top will be 61. But you'll notice that if I just grab this and drag it over here to the side, they line up perfectly. So this line overlaps right on top of my other, and now they really look as if I've created a ruler, and I can kind of just start to play with the way that those lines overlap each other to get it to look a little bit more like a real ruler, but you get the idea. So it's pretty easy to create. You just kind of have to do a little bit of math and a little bit of counting to figure out exactly how those are going to overlap to create the shape that you want. Now, really easily, I can just take both of those selections, hold down Alt, and click to duplicate, and it'll give me another one of those. And then I can just kind of turn this over on its side, and we'll put this down here at the bottom, just so we kind of have a horizontal and a vertical version of that. So we can measure something maybe in between there like a graph, or this could be something great for us to use for those sound waves that we talked about. So maybe the levels meter kind of just will sit nicely inside of this L. And if that's what I'm going to be using, I'd actually like this to be a little bit more rectangular. So I could take this and maybe just chop off this end of it here. And one of the easier ways to do that is just to go ahead and turn the blend shape into actual paths. So you can just select both of those by just kind of dragging a box around that, then going up to Object and choosing Expand. And it's going to kind of give me all of those options. I'm just going to go ahead and say OK to that. And you can see that now I can click on any one of those individual pieces and I have access to that. Now I'm going to go ahead and ungroup those. So I can right click and choose Ungroup. And now those will be all individual pieces. And I can just come in there and delete the ones that I don't want, so I have kind of a more rectangular version there. And also, if you wanted to, you could go in and delete all of the short pieces from on top of those long ones if you feel like you don't like the way that it looks with just that slight amount of overlap. Sometimes maybe just a pixel or two will get out of line and look like there's a kind of a strange overlap happening, but you do have to change it to the outlined stroke for that to be possible for you to use. So I'll just go ahead and do it to the top one as well. We'll just select the whole thing, go up to Object, choose Expand, go ahead and say OK. Then you can also just hit Control-Shift-G to ungroup objects as well instead of right-clicking and going to ungroup. Then I can come in there again and just delete all of the short pieces from on top of the tall ones. Now if your short ones are on bottom, you're going to need to change the stacking order in your layers panel so that you can actually get to that without getting your lines kind of out of order and not having them so nicely and evenly spaced. So that can be a little bit tricky if you do that step after you've already ungrouped, because then it's kind of hard to tell what is what in the layers panel because you have so many paths there that you're able to see. So a lot of times once I ungroup so that I can do a little job like what I just now did, I'll go back in and group these together. But first let's maybe change their colors so they're a little bit more distinguishable. I'm going to go ahead and choose all of the long strokes, and we'll make those kind of that second over orange color, and you just need to make sure that is on the stroke. And then I'll go ahead and group those together. So I'll just select those and hit Control-G to group them. Then I can just select everything and click any one of those long pieces and it will deselect the whole group. Then I can hit Control-G to group all of the small ones, and we'll come back over here to our swatches panel and I'll click that blue color, and now we kind of have that alternating look between all of those tick marks. And maybe we want to use a few of these shapes here. I'll just grab maybe a couple of these. I'll hold down Alt and drag this down, and let's just go ahead and select all of them. Come over here to our Align panel, choose horizontal and vertical, and then maybe I'll come in here and just play with the sizing and Maybe make this one a little bit larger, and these two as well. So just kind of like that. And really, I mean, I'm just playing around with the way that those fit together. But in the end, what I'm going to do is go ahead and come up here, go to Object, and I'm going to expand these. So I'll go ahead and go to Path, Outline Stroke, really pretty much the same thing as expand. Go ahead and hit Control G just to group them all together. And now they're going to actually get smaller when I scale that down. And I want to use this little shape that I just created kind of as that joining point for the two rulers. So lots of kind of little details that we created earlier, and then we were just really quickly able to reuse those to give us that little shape for our measurement there. So kind of just a quick little tip for you. Good way to do that, and that's why I'm not using the whole shape. I'm just alt dragging to duplicate them, and that just is making it a little bit easier on me. So I'm going to go ahead and select this whole thing and hit Control G to group the ruler together, and you can see how quick and easy that was just by knowing how to do a few little calculations and using the blend shape tool to create that for us. So in this lesson, we learned how to create a ruler using blend shapes and a few calculations that make our measurements look like they really belong on a real ruler.